Well, hello, darlings, and welcome to the very first episode of The Privilege of Knowing. If you go on social media and you haven't been living under a rock for the past 2 to 3 days, you know that one event happened that shook probably every woman that goes on social media and that consumes content about self-development and how to be a better version of yourself. Yes, TheWizardLiz. She has been cheated on by Landon. I don't know, whatever. And I've seen so many different videos talking about this event through the lens of relationships and expectations in relationships, or even blame, which I completely understand. I've been thinking about this non-stop. It has been my Roman Empire for 2 days in this video and the very first episode of The Privilege of Knowing. I would like for us, me and you, my darlings, to explore the actual lessons that we can learn for ourselves, not necessarily in relationships, from TheWizardLiz. Not from the situation or from Landon or from her and her behavior. Because I think there is so much to unpack, and we're going to start right now. If you don't know who Liz is, she is one of the most, if not the most popular, feminine self-help creator. When you have a brand like that and you're constantly giving advice to young women on how to build your life and how to be your truest self and, you know, how to improve everything around you and how to manifest and how to be in your relationships and all of that, and you get betrayed in such a public way, what do? How do you behave? How do you act? Your values are non-negotiable. In Liz's case, apart from her values just being her internal compass, as they are for most of us, it's also one of the pillars of her brand, considering that she shares it with everyone and she gives advice based on that to millions and millions of girls and women on the internet. She's got 8 million followers at this point. Had it been any other person, and I'm not saying everybody else doesn't hold their values dear, I'm just saying so many people just completely disregard their values when something like this happens to them. So one of the core values, for instance, is respect. You want to be respected and you want your partner to be faithful and loyal to you, right? So respect, faithfulness, loyalty, those are all very important and fundamental values. Somebody could, be in love and infatuated and look at their situation and think, oh, well, I've been cheated on now. What do? I love this person so much. And you find yourself at a crossroad, right? With, on one side, your values that are telling you, we value loyalty. We want our partners to be loyal and faithful to us. And the other road that's telling you, but you love them, so you should forgive them and you should stay with them. This is a really difficult choice to make, but at the end of the day, you only have yourself. At the end of your life, you only have yourself. When you go to bed and you fall asleep, you only have yourself. It's the truth. It's a basic fact. Nobody is in your head with you, and so your values are always going to be with you. They're always going to be inside of you. If you disregard them, you are disregarding an actual part of you. We have seen so many situations where an influencer or a content creator or somebody that's very vocal about their values, such values, sometimes politicians that value, traditional family values, they get caught in scandals about cheating, they get caught in scandals about being cheated on, and they do not really stay true to who they claim to be and to who they are and what their values are supposed to be. They just basically hush the story and they don't talk about it, or they don't acknowledge it, or they stay with the person and pretend like everything's fine, or they acknowledge it and they minimize it and they kind of change the line of their values. And that happens so very often. We've seen it so many times in, media, in the political sphere, and in basically everywhere. And honestly, with myself, I also have some values that sometimes it's easier to just say, you know what, well, okay, I can forgive this. Well, okay, I can disregard this. At the end of the day, I still have, you still have, we still have to live with that. It was very refreshing to see that Liz stayed true to herself. And that is such a strong thing to do. That is something that not everybody can do, very unfortunately. For a lot of people, an issue also is that they don't know their values. So what I would tell you to do is think about what your maybe 3 to 5 core values are. What do you value above everything in life? You know, it could be loyalty, it could be family, it could be closeness, it could be honesty. Identify that for yourself. You can do it in your journal, you can do whatever you want, write it on a paper. Think about it like really deeply. Please stop the victim shaming. This story has been everywhere on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. It's very unfortunate that I was able to notice some interesting viewpoints about this. In the victim shaming kind of area, I've seen 2 main lines of thought. The first one is some men, and mostly men, saying things like, oh, she was all, you know, high and mighty, look at her now, like she has been humbled and she deserved to be humbled, and now somehow some men are thriving and joyful and gallivanting and happy, and it's the best thing that could have happened because the wizard Liz was, in their mind, humbled by being cheated on. So this is one line of thought, and I'm just going to let you sit with that, because for me, if you think that way, I'm not going to go that, take an IQ test. The second one is, I think, a bit more insidious and not so openly shaming. The speech or the language saying, look at her, she's been humiliated. He has humiliated her. How can she go through this humiliation? I think it's very important to choose the proper language when we talk about these things, because she hasn't been humiliated. He has humiliated himself. She has done nothing to be humiliated, and being, you know, trustful of somebody that is showing you their best side and that is, you know, swearing up and down that they're committed to you and actually committing to you through marriage. You put a ring on her finger. You decided to, quote unquote, have a family and be together and raise a family together. You are the one that is humiliating yourself when you go out and step out of your marriage and do something like that. Let's change the language around this. This is a very important, in my opinion, a very important lesson. If you get cheated on, you should not be humiliated. You should not feel ashamed or guilty or remorseful. Why would you feel that way? You aren't the one who went out and actively sought to have an extramarital, you know, relation or an affair or whatever it may be. I don't think, and I'm not sure because I don't know her personally, but I don't think that Liz is taking the blame or taking the shame for his wrongdoings, although in her speech, in what she wrote on Instagram, she did say things like, this is what I get for ignoring, this is what I get for this is what I get for that. And I definitely sense that there is a bit of blame on her end that she's taking, and she's being, you know, critical of her own choices to be with this man and to ignore maybe some red flags that she was too infatuated or too in love to pay attention to. Do not feel humiliated for being cheated on, and do not feel humiliated for other people's wrongdoings. You can apply this to literally anything that can happen to you without you wanting it, and that can be harmful, whether it be bullying, you know, DV, cheating, and, you know, any other types of betrayals and abuse. My actionable advice here is, when you feel ashamed about something, really take a moment and think about it in depth. And think about whether this shame is yours. Ask yourself the question, is it really mine? Am I the one who did something wrong inherently? Or am I carrying it for somebody else that should be ashamed instead of me? Because at the end of the day, you are only responsible for your mistakes, for your choices. You're not responsible for somebody else's mistakes, betrayals, or choices. Independence is going to be your power. We can be very happy and very glad that in her situation, she is pregnant, Liz chose to be true to her values and to leave Landon and to say, you know what, I do not need this in my life. I don't want to have to deal with this. Goodbye. shut the door. I think it's also very important to look at the context of things, because so many women who are in her situation end up being, pregnant by their husbands or by their partners, and they are unable to leave because they don't feel safe enough, because they are not independent enough. We talk a lot about how women should be taken care of by men and should, aspire to have a soft life and this and that. The reality of things is that, as I said it in the beginning, you only truly fully have yourself. You can be very lucky, be very blessed, and meet a partner that is truly going to love you and want to care for you and want to do everything for you. Unfortunately, I don't think everybody is that lucky, and I don't think that everybody has that kind of mindset. Even those men that are like, I want to be a provider, I'm going to provide for you. I mean, we've seen it with Landon, right? He is a provider and wants to provide and protect and all of the woo-woo everything. Let's imagine for a second that Liz was not the Liz that she is. She doesn't have the financial and the emotional freedom and independence, okay? So she's just, he loves me, and he takes care of me, and would she leave? Maybe she would. Some women, they are so strong, they actually think, I don't care that I have to pick up shifts, I don't care that I have to live on, welfare, I don't care that I've got to do all these things. The most important thing for me is to not be abused and be respected and have my child grow in healthy environments and have a healthy dynamic around him or her. Some women really do it, but you have to have that strength. You have to have at least that emotional independence and that emotional freedom. So the lesson that you've got to learn is always, no matter what you think, no matter how much you love your partner and how much your partner loves you, no matter how much you think that this is the man of your dreams and this is never going to end, think of your independence. Anything could happen. People change. Their opinions change. Their values can change, or maybe they lied about their values, like we see some people do very clearly, or something could happen to them. Something bad could happen to them. The important thing is that you have something to fall back on if anything were to happen to your relationship in which, you thought you were safe. And I think this is such a powerful lesson that Liz is showing to everybody, to all of the girls that know her and that watch her and that see her. But she is showing it with action, and she is leading by example. My advice for you, the actionable advice, is it's obvious that not everybody can take colossal steps and do great things and, become financially independent in one day. And if you don't have the privilege of having a wealthy family that's going to take care of you and that's going, to take you back home if something happens to you and take care of you and your child, or that left you a nice inheritance or a trust fund, you have to build it yourself, and it's probably going to take time. You need to take little steps on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, at least on the financial side, so that if you need to leave, if you need to go, or if something happens, you have that. You don't have to think, okay, how am I going to live? How am I going to feed myself and my children? In the long run, you're going to feel so free expressing hurt with grace and not pity. We've seen so many situations in which people that are in relationships and the relationship implodes, they go one of two ways. They either take the drama route and they start, stirring drama and oversharing and talking about everything that was going on and blaming each other. And although it can be very entertaining and, it creates hype and it brings extra eyes to the people involved, it's very easy to regret these actions later on. What's happening to you, the story, is your story. You can show grace towards yourself. your own person. So in that situation, you don't become just like Liz did, right? She didn't become that pitiful person that, look at her, poor Liz, she got cheated on, and then she kind of gets infantilized. Is just showing the world that anything can come and break me. I have no strong foundations within myself, within who I am and my identity and my values, that anything can break my entire being and my foundation, and I just lose everything and I lose who I am. Woe is me, and I'm the victim, and this is just the most horrible thing, and I will never ever live again or love again. At the same time, I think it's very important to be honest with yourself and not become a stone, right? And say, oh, I'm not hurt, nothing hurts me, I don't care. We all know it feels like a slap in the face when somebody betrays you, and maybe that slap numbs you for a little bit and you don't feel the pain. And in a lot of cases, even the indifference is performative. And I think that for a lot of us, it's just very easy to get lost in that image of, I'm going to be this magnetic woman and I'm going to be amazing, I'm going to be like this and like that. And so if somebody wrongs me, I'm just going to not care, and they are insignificant. The truth of the matter is that they were not insignificant at some point in your life. Unloving somebody also usually takes a bit of time. I think that we need to be honest with ourselves about the pain that we are feeling in situations like these, like what happened to Liz, and to say, you know what? The reality is I am hurt. Somebody did something to hurt me. This is going to help you avoid bottling up your feelings for years and then the bottle just exploding in your face years later and you not knowing what to do with the glass shards. We have this idea that if you're hurt, if you're crying over somebody because they hurt you, and you're crying because he cheated, and you're crying because he did this, you are a loser or you're lame. And it goes back to the first point I was talking about. Why do we have to carry the shame of something that somebody else did? My advice for you is to be honest with yourself. Acknowledge the situation and the pain. Ask yourself, what am I truly feeling in the depth of my being? What are the thoughts that I have about this person, about this situation, and about myself? Are these thoughts correct? If I feel ashamed, is this shame mine to carry? Find a healthy way to express your pain. Find a healthy way to express your emotions. Just like Liz did, she said, I am hurt, I'm going through pain, I am heartbroken, and I need to take time for myself to feel better and to heal. Hopefully she's, talking about it with her close friends and family and with her therapist. I think that's a really beautiful way to show how to be healthy with yourself and with your emotions to the millions of girls that are watching her. Coherence and authenticity amplify your voice. I think for a lot of people, when they started to watch Liz, to like her and to follow her, it was mostly because she's a very beautiful woman and she gives unfiltered advice, which so many people were craving. Her story of being bullied in toxic relationships and in an abusive home and growing up to become the woman that she has become resonated with so many people, and they also wanted the same thing. They felt inspired, admirative, and they wanted to replicate her success in her own life. Considering all of those things, the situation that's happened to her, and the choices that she made and the way that she decided to carry herself, everybody understood that this is not a facade. Everybody understood that what she preaches, she actually practices. She showed everybody, without hype, without drama, without creating any crazy stories, she showed everybody, this is the actionable advice that I give you, and I actually apply it. And it's advice that I give you because I would do that myself. Be coherent in your actions. What you say and what you do must be coherent. Being coherent is what turned her, right now, at this point, into the queen that everybody is calling her their queen. Not because, oh, she's so beautiful, oh, because she gives good advice, so she's our queen. No, the way she handled everything. The way she handled everything with dignity and grace and openness, and she showed that she is vulnerable, but she is not broken. And that is so on brand. So my actionable advice for you is to practice showing up as who you truly are. Definitely big up to Liz. She is such an actual queen for you know, doing what she did and acting the way she did and reacting the way she did. Choosing yourself in such moments is the ultimate act of bravery and courage. In this situation, Liz had so much to protect, including herself and her little baby. The act in some people's eyes might look so minute, so tiny. Well, he didn't really do anything. He just texted a girl on Snapchat. That's not... Maybe somebody could tell you that, gaslight you into thinking that it's not a big deal. She looked down the road and saw, okay, well, if I forgive this right now and I'm not true to my values, then this boundary has been broken, and God only knows which other boundaries are going to be broken. And that is a perfect recipe for disaster. You end up losing your self-confidence, everything that actually makes you feel your worth, because you yourself did not care for yourself, did not do this thing to protect yourself and your sanity. And your child is going to be seeing this, and your child is going to be a witness to that, and they're going to have to either just continue on this pattern, or they're going to have to do all of the work to fix it later on. People can say, oh, you are so selfish, you can be so selfish separating a child, or so selfish for not giving him a second chance. At the end of the day, this doesn't benefit you, and it's not going to benefit your child in the long run either. Just do the brave thing. My advice to you, always ask yourself when you have tough choices to make, what would I choose if I were strong, and if I were brave, and if I were courageous, and if I wanted to protect my self-worth and my self-love? And what would I choose out of weakness, out of fear, out of not trusting myself and not trusting the future? Try as much as possible to act from self-love and from courage. I know it can be very difficult, especially when you don't have a safe environment, but you have to start somewhere. For so many of us, Liz is very special, but you have to also realize that if you're able to own your story as well, and if you're able to take these lessons and take this advice and actually apply it to your life, you can also become the magnetic woman, the strong woman, the beautiful, amazing woman that you are, and to have the same type of energy. And that's going to be your energy, because it's going to be your story, your authenticity, and your personality. Now, my darlings, you can say that you have the privilege of knowing. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. I would love to have a conversation with you guys in the comments about everything I discussed today in this episode. Please do consider subscribing. I would really love seeing you again on my channel. I would also like to add that I want to give Liz my entire support. I am thinking about her, I am praying for her and for her child, and I really sympathize with her, and I'm really admirative and inspired by her. I really, really hope that it gets easier for her and that she doesn't have to feel this pain and this heartbreak for a long time. Have a lovely day or evening wherever you are.